But a miraculous thing happened, General. I could breathe. It must have been the helmet that was jammed onto my head. It was a strange and remarkable thing.
Some might almost say beyond belief.
A narrow-minded fool may indeed, General, but of course you are no Durak. But even as I sank towards the floor of that lost ocean, my journey was about to take me to darker, stranger territory than ever before. And it happened like this.
Let me see if I have this correctly. After narrowly failing to apprehend the mad missing explorer Toll and recapture my atomic bomb in your giant snowball, you fell through thin ice and sank to the bottom of a subterranean ocean, discovering along the way that the mind control helmet you had accidentally wedged onto your head enabled you to breathe underwater and resume your pursuit across the seabed.
General, you seem perplexed.
Perplexed? Perplexed is that the keys to my house are not where I left them. Perplexed is the fact my dog will not eat cheese like other dogs. No, Ivan Ivanovich, I am not perplexed.
Intrigued, then, perhaps?
I'm not sure intrigued is the correct term either. Enraged at being taken for a simpleton? Now that, perhaps, is a better way of describing my current state of mind.
That is unfortunate, General.
Once again, Comrade Privalov, I must correct you. Unfortunate is losing one's car in a snowstorm. Unfortunate is booking opera tickets on your wife's birthday and getting the date wrong.
Oh, was she furious?
That is not the issue! Furious. However, now that is a good word.
I could speak with your wife. Would that help? I could always have a word with her if you like.
I could always have you shot.
Oh, you could. But I suspect she would appreciate the gesture less. A vast monster of the sea. A giant, humongous, many-armed electrical destroyer of ships and cities.
Electrical?
Electricity flowed along its horrible body, sparking and stunning all it touched, flowing like deadly rivers along its awful tentacles.
sobering discovery. Are you suggesting that the vessel simply wandered off course and sank here? That seems unlikely even by your standards.
No, General, I only wish that were true. The mighty ship showed terrible scars, signs of having been grappled and torn asunder by some huge and terrible adversary.
That is indeed strange and curious. I am troubled by this discovery.
Might you almost be perplexed, perhaps?
Don't push your luck. I was stationed at Sydney Ostrov some years ago. I am only too aware of how easy it is for the imagination to create monsters when one is exposed to lonely and dark places. My men required constant monitoring.
Much like my cousin Pavel.
He was also stationed at Ostrov?
No, he required constant monitoring. He was a devil for stealing eggs.
I was referring to the fear that something is lurking in the darkness. Something strange, brutish, and ill-intentioned.
Again, that sounds much like my cousin Pavel. haunted. There was no doubt about it, and escape was all I could think about.
Naturally.
That and duty.
Duty?
Yes, General. After all, I had a bomb to recover from that villain Toll.
How clever of you to remember that.
But first, there was the issue of escape. Escape from a dreadful I owe my life to that strange diving helmet. Who knows, in other worlds, grasping creature that consumed all it could reach, dragging anything that wandered within its clutches to a miserable doom. A hoarder of useless trophies and stolen goods.
Once again, Tavarish, I suspect you are pursuing a somewhat tortuous metaphor for capitalism, in the misguided hope of appealing to my political ideals.
I was like a mouse, General. A little mouse being toyed with by a terrible cat.
A rather wet mouse.
I was like a little underwater mouse.
Being stalked by a giant rubbery electrical cat with 8 tentacles.
Exactly, General.
Good, I'm glad we cleared that up. You may continue.
On the seafloor, all kinds of wondrous devices could be found, such as the boys spilled from the house.
Submarines. You didn't mention submarines before.
Didn't I? Why? No, Navernia, General, of course. Submarines. Millions of them. Several, at least.
Any particular submarines? Did you see names? Numbers?
General, have you lost a submarine?
I am not at liberty to answer that question, as you well know.
Well, General, losing one's car in a snowstorm is unfortunate, as you say. But to lose a whole submarine, that could be considered careless.
And you are certain it was M. Deveschi Pidishach?
Well, that was painted on the hull, so I can only assume so.
I think I know where this dismal story is going next. You somehow miraculously brought the remaining closed cycle engine online, flooded the torpedo tubes, dispatched the Kraken with one shot, and triumphantly surfaced.
No, General, that is not what happened at all. I did indeed make my way to the torpedo tubes, but for a very different purpose. After all, history has taught us that atomic power is not to be taught.
Much like tired, impatient generals, perhaps. Particularly the perplexed.
Indeed, General. Or like dogs that will eat no cheese.
Determined yet disorientated hero end his days as socialist sushi? Will his daring exploits be cut tragically short by vengeful calamari? Will the general's wife ever forgive him for missing Ruslan and Lyudmila? And just how many eggs did Pavel steal, and where did he keep them? All of these questions and more may or may not be answered in the next exciting episode of Dittle Orpheus!
I was alive, General. Somehow, miraculously, I was alive. Some twist of fate, some hand of destiny, but I was alive. Strange as this new world was, I knew Toll must have come this way, and it was my task to find him. And it happened like this. The sun beat down on me relentlessly. The heat was unbearable. I was exhausted. Yet I could not stop. I had to go on. For 7 weeks I trudged across the desert. On the second day...
Please, comrade, if we may. I think we can skip the details, unless you consider them to be particularly relevant to the location of Little Orpheus.
Of course, General. We will simply omit the tale of the singing chasm, the oasis of mirrors, the sightings of Toll's Mienk aloft on their pterodactyls carrying parts of my crashed rocket drill over the horizon to Lemuria.
Wait! The what?
Singing chasm?
Not that, but the rocket drill.
Oh yes, General, the rocket drill. But what did Toll want with it? And why Lemuria?
Lemuria?
Lemuria, General.
I am not familiar with this Lemuria, comrade.
Well, that is because it does not exist, General. Or at least, so I thought. The lost city of Lemuria emerging from the sandstorm is a sight I will never forget. Strange crystals seem to exert an extraordinary hold over the stone blocks and arches. When they hummed, the whole city remade itself. Whereas they were missing, clearly looted by some villainous thief, the city was fallen to ruin. It was like a vast musical instrument, vandalized, and yet still attempting to toot. The Lemurian prophecy of Toll's rise and the coming of the man from above. Some...
How poetic. I am sure our engineers would be fascinated and baffled in equal measure. If the whole department hadn't been arrested for sedition last week, I would happily convey it to their skeptical ears.
Sedition, General? Really? It is unfortunate news indeed.
I am joking, comrade.
yes. The Mank were here, all right. Which meant whatever dastardly scheme Toll had, it was to be enacted on these burning
And you will explain this in due course, I imagine.
Eminently, General. What you need to know first is this. I have told you already how parts of the devices the enslaved Mienk were forced to wear came from the surface.
Radio parts and so on, yes, from what you have told me. Assuming there were plenty of lost ships in the ocean as you claim, for Toll to have dredged up what he needed to assemble them.
Aha, good. You are one step...
I said assuming.
Of course, assuming. Now, as I gazed in awe at the buildings rising and falling around me, I realized that the other major component of those mind-controlling helmets was crystal. Toll had raided Lemuria for them. He knew the city. He knew the crystals could amplify vibrations and waves, and was using them to boost the signal of the radio parts to exert his control over the Memph. Which meant...
Yes?
Imagine, General, what such amplification could achieve when fused to the finest atomic science our great Soviet civilization has produced.
Wait. I do not understand. You said Toll was planning on using the bomb to shatter the Earth's crust to return to the surface.
A tragic mistake, General. I had not recognized the extent of his mad ambitions. I have made many furtive scribblings in my secret notebook since my return, trying to make sense of my adventures. Perhaps the most enigmatic page is simply entitled Tower and Lever. Whatever can it all mean? The vast pictograms told of a history of wonders. They seem to suggest the Lemurians were travelers from another world, where a mysterious clock seemed to stand.
That is very mysterious. As mysterious as the location of Little Orpheus, perhaps.
Ah, yes, of course, General. I am just getting to that. Had Toll not been so utterly demented, his genius and flair for invention and engineering would have made him a powerful asset to Kosmicheskaya Programa SSSR. Unfortunate, then, that his isolation had rendered him a gibbering loon. As I bravely explored that ancient city, a question was gnawing at my mind. What did it mean that the Lemurians had foreseen the coming of Toll? And who was the man from above that was celebrated as the savior of the Mength? It was almost as if they could read the future in their crystals. The bells of Lemuria tolled and tolled, a roaring symphony, a crescendo of peals that set the city dancing, each note causing the crystals to shimmer and cascade with light. But the sandstorm was no natural phenomenon, and the bells did not ring for celebration. Something was very wrong here.
Aside from the pterodactyls and the Mength and the dancing stones and the ancient magical prophecies and the crystals and now the giant bells, you mean?
If you don't want me to continue, General, then I can easily just quietly go home.
Don't think Chepucho will get you out of this one, comrade.
As a child, my toy maker parents gifted me with a small flute and drum that became my closest friends during the lonely hours of my childhood. Through those magical structures, a righteous fire in my heart. I was like Dobrynya Nikitch, prepared to strike at the dragon who threatened my home.
Your heroism is only surpassed by your modesty.
On the contrary, General, I chose Dobrynya carefully. Like him, I am a simple peasant. It was fate that chose me to descend to the Earth's core.
It was General Komanin who chose you to descend to the Earth's core. But don't let that get in the way of your story.
Oh, well then, award General Polkovnik Kamanin the highest medal in the world.
He already has several of those.
I cannot take credit for his wisdom in sending me. Was once a rocket drill ship, built to burrow into the Earth, was now a mighty vessel, repurposed to blast off into the skies. There was no doubt that Toll was headed for the strange world with its clock. Although to what end, I was yet to understand. But there was no time to consider. No time for questions. Toll was on the rocket. Little Orpheus was on the rocket. And wherever they were headed, I must head there too, to thwart his plans, recover my drill, and save the world!
Will our enthusiastic yet disorientated hero be burnt to a cinder by the rocket's engines? Will he be smashed into the rock that surely must be beyond the Lemurian skies? Does Nikolai Petrovich Kamanin really need any more medals? What was the strange clock, and what could it all mean? All of these questions, and more, will be answered, if you're extremely lucky, in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!